Send some Momo. Join the millions of MTN Momo users all over Ghana and live life the brighter way. So just Momo it. MTN.
Hooray! The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us once again. From the 4th of September to the 31st of October 2023, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% to 15% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and so much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, Winneba, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stock lasts. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302 764 209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex Tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex Tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex Tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex Tank. Syntex Tank, stress-free. Syntex Tank, reliable. Syntex Tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough.
For over 10 years, Old Mutual has been touching lives in Ghana. Whether you're a trader or a student, an entrepreneur or an employer, or nearing your retirement, we have the right financial solutions tailored just for you. Contact Old Mutual on 030-7000-600 or visit our website on oldmutual.com.gh to learn more. And let's realize your financial freedom together. 10 years of greatness, here for a lifetime. Old Mutual, do great things every day.
Media Sambisanda mo. Eti emrati no. Mumu hoi pane tumi fi na mo bodom pe mo mana yakono.
Eye kwabna.
Na mumu honsu ne tumi just mali me ma yeni nyina de.
Eye kojo.
Enu kro. Kobre tumi wi na bodom pe mo sense o yusu president eba. Ayede yan ban ne do braye. Ko si echi na mo ho ban na sem mana hoode ne.
Sa
ani na kodwonsu yusu president chako. Na eno ne de e ma wo se wo ye krejen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwe ma na feel you.
Ey kojo.
Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedie. You're gonna natural.
FTAJ Jadion Katuyatu.
Welcome back to Ghana Connect, and tonight the dialogue deserves all your attention. The question we are asking: are you impressed with government's handling of the Akosombo Dam Spillage, and what's your verdict on the president's leadership at this time of crisis, as many are affected and as many cry for help?
North Town and Central Town. As for South Town, all the people affected in the communities have moved to stay with their relatives and friends.
We are traumatized. As I speak now, anytime, anywhere I see water guarded somewhere, then I become frightened that the water is coming to me again.
Some of the things that we are seeing currently are the fact that a lot of the people are reporting with some malaria and then respiratory conditions, especially because of the crowding in the centers. And then a few people are beginning to show signs of waterborne diseases.
Communities around the Volta Lake have lost homes. Fishermen along the Volta Lakes, in particular, north of Akosombo, have been seriously affected.
We shall be all right. Yeah. Don't you cry, don't you cry. Yeah. 'Cause Jah shall wash away all the tears from my eyes. In times when the storms and the tides are raging high, we know we shall win, yeah. We know we'll survive, yeah. Jah shall wash away all the tears.
The board and management of VRA has set aside a fund to support the impacted communities by providing relief items to address the impact of the flooding.
I would just want to use this opportunity to appeal to the president to declare a state of emergency. Once that declaration is done, we will see renewed urgency, we will see national mobilization of resources, and we are also going to get international attention.
Those who wanted to come, their health insurance has submerged in the water, so they are not able to come because the drug is not a donor drug. It's a drug that the district has bought, so they have to pay so that we can get the money to pay back and get another.
Imo is not complaining. I don't know the basis for saying they are not well resourced. We talk about disasters are not planned for, but when they talk about resources, NADMO is not complaining, so I don't know where that complaint is coming from.
Look on the gully side. Do you see anything to smile about? Look at that hungry child, yeah.
Who votes for me and who doesn't vote for me. I shouldn't be here because you don't vote for me. But that is not my concern.
It's rather unfortunate that the head of state, the father of all of this nation, will make such a comment.
It was a very terrible comment. It was totally avoidable. It was a comment that indicated that the president didn't exhibit any feelings towards the sensibilities of the victims. But the president also got it wrong. That the president got it wrong that the people don't vote for him. The president gets in excess of 100,000 votes from the voter rating, out of a total vote for NDC of about 500,000 or 600,000.
Tell me where you gonna run go. Yeah, I be some air.
Really important dialogue that deserves all of us our attention as we speak. The flood waters are still devastating properties. It's left people homeless. So many people sheltering in places that ordinarily they will not be sheltering, and that is why we are putting the spotlight on that conversation and connecting with authorities right here on Ghana Connect. Let me tell you the kind of intelligent, knowledgeable people and some of the persons who themselves are affected by this situation who are joining us for this conversation. We also have authorities who are connecting with us for more on that. Nana Kofi Akwa is a blogger and a pastor. He's a change maker and has been on this show quite a number of times. Nana Kofi Akwa, good to have you join us again. Hello, Nana Kofi Akwa. Okay, it appears Nana Kofi Akwa. Hello. Yeah, Nana, can you hear me?
Can you hear? Yeah.
Definitely, it's good to have you connecting. It's good to have you connecting with us. And Cephas,
it's good to be here. Good evening.
Cephas Yausukpa is also a victim of this devastating flood which has displaced many. In fact, he spoke to us early today and told us about the trauma that he has faced. Mr. Sokpa, good evening and thanks for connecting with us.
Good evening, sir.
Carlos Kaloni is my colleague. He's connecting with us all the way in areas around Mepe. He's been embedded in that communities over the last few days, bringing us some really interesting reports about the situation on the ground. Carlos, it's good to have you join us.
Pleasure to be here, Kwaku.
Right. And then we are also going to be joined shortly by Engineer Edward Kenzo. He's a Deputy Chief Executive Officer at VRA in charge of engineering and operations. But for now, we also have George AC, the Director of Communications at NADMO. Mr. AC, good evening and thanks for connecting with us.
Yeah, good evening, my brother.
Right, so guys, let's zoom right into the conversation. And for those of you listening, you can always join in. Send us your messages 055-1111-997, 055-1111-997. Do you think government has really handled this? We have a poll running on Twitter. We'll give you the interesting results. But Carlos, because you're on the move and you have to go back, keep telling the stories, I want you to paint a picture for those who are really trying to catch up with all that has happened. In the last 2 weeks, what have you seen and how bad is the situation in the communities you visited?
All right, Kwaku, the situation across the 8 communities, as you rightly described, is I'll say, nothing to write home about. You know, water levels at roof levels and houses are collapsing every second. And people's livelihoods have been affected, and especially the elderly, some don't have any place to go. This afternoon, I spoke with an 85-year-old woman whose house got destroyed in this particular flood water. She has no kids, and where to sleep is a problem. As we speak, she's sleeping at someone's cornmeal, and so during the day she would have to find a way to go and sit under trees, and while the operator of the cornmeal is operating the place, when they are done, then in the night she goes there to sleep. No mattress, no pillows, no mosquito net and all that. Then there's another half of the story which has to do with the distribution of relief items. The focus largely has been on the North Tongue area, and Central and South Tongue appear to be left out. So their people are referred to as the forgotten flood victims of the situation that we have on our hands. This afternoon, I was in a community in South Tongue near Naval Base, and the residents there are even saying that they don't even know if relief items have been shared until someone brought 40 bags of sachet water. So, Kwaku, it's a serious situation on the ground. But I must add also that the VRA and NADMO, they've been doing a lot on the ground, providing relief items. 2 days ago, they were in Ada, Azizanya. They provided some medical supplies to the District Directorate of Health or Health Directorate there. And also NADMO, they have been on the ground. Sergi has been on the ground. I can tell you that there are times that I see him on phone deep into the night. But in fact, if you ask me, I'll say even though they are doing much more needs to be done under the circumstances.
Thank you very much, Carlos. And you are on the move. Keep telling us the stories. I'll let you go so that you can continue the stories that you're telling us. Carlos Kaloni is our colleague here at Joy News, and he's been in the Volta region over the last few days, really bringing us gripping results and reports about the impact of these floods and how the people are reeling under that. But also, thankfully, we've been connecting with Mr. Cephas Yao Sokpa, and he is a victim of this flood. He lives in Sogakope, and he's been hugely affected. Earlier, he told us a story, but it's good to have him join us again to connect with us much more expansively. So, Mr. Sokpa, you told us about your trauma. What is it that this flood has done to you and your livelihood in Sogakope?
Thank you very much for the message. Yes, indeed. Like I said in the morning, where I'm seated now, I still have that fear, because whether the water will still continue to come or not to come, I don't know. So for now, I'm not sure of myself, of my livelihood. Because almost everything of mine is in danger. We have money to evacuate some, but we are not sure of our lives. So the trauma is still there. So we are only appealing to the VRA that they should tell us the truth. They should tell us the truth because we don't know what is happening. People keep on telling us the water that is yet to come is even more than what had already been there. So we don't know which is which. So we are only in the hands of God. As I speak now, schools have been closed down. Our children at home, where would they go? People sleeping under trees, looking for safety, where would they go? Food to eat is a problem. Water to drink is a problem. Left alone the shelter, which are already immersed in the water. When do we get money? When would this water for us to pick the rest of the items or to take care of the homes? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm only appealing to the philanthropists that anybody who could help salvage this situation, we are only appealing that we need help from the people. Thank you very much.
We've also been joined by Samson Tagbo, and I'll hear from Samson pretty shortly. He's also in Keta and he's affected really bad by these floods, and he has some stories to tell. But Mr. Sokpa, have you gotten any relief items so far? Are you comfortable with how you are able to live within these last few days that the floods have really taken over your house?
The relief items, we heard about them, we yet to receive. As I speak now, I haven't received any yet, but it's in the pipeline, and I'm hopeful that whatever it is, I'll be a beneficiary. So currently, we are managing.
Well, what is the situation? Is it that the water level keep rising, given that your fear is that the spilling is continuing, or the water level has been where it has been, or it actually receding? Is it going up, receding, or just being there?
It's just increasing a little. It has reduced, but since the spillage has not stopped, and they keep on telling us that what is left to come is even more than what has already been here. So if I could see the level of the water now, and they're telling me what is yet to come is even more, then you could imagine what is going to happen. A lot of people will be affected. More people will be affected if the level will still rise. That is what I can see.
All right, Mr. Sokpa, please stay with me. I'll come back to you. We are going to put VRA on the line very shortly. You can put some of your questions to them. We also have NADMO. They will respond to some of the concerns you have pretty shortly. But let me hear from another person who is in a community which is badly affected by these floods. Samson Tagbo is in Keta. And Samson, how bad is the situation in Keta? We've seen the pictures from Mepe. We've seen them from Sorakope, among others. How bad is the situation in Keta, and how are you and the members of the community affected?
Right, thank you for having me. And of course, it's indeed a very worrisome situation here in Keta, as it is in other communities that have been badly affected by this flood issue as we have it in a public domain. But I think that most of our targets or strategy in trying to mitigate the plight of these victims are centered around the Mepe area, I mean the 3-ton communities, which I do not have any qualms about. But I would wish to see an approach that will encompass every other community that has been affected by this particular situation. So, of course, Keta is equally affected, but the level of relief items or helps that are extended to the people of Keta is not as much as we are seeing in the case of Mepe and its environment. Of course, it is expected that because Mepe is at the center of all of these flood issues, they should have the higher attention as it is. But we also think that every other person must be included in the basket, and that includes the people of Keta. So it's a very bad situation here, as you already know, and we think that the days ahead will be worse if care is not taken and frantic efforts are made to attend to these people as soon as possible.
Do you sense, just like Mr. Sokpa says, that the people are living in apprehension and in fear that what is yet to come is even worse than what we have seen in the last 2 weeks? Is that the same sense those of you in Keta get?
Well, Kwaku, that fear is not far from the reality, because you will appreciate the point that this flood, as we have it, is not a natural disaster. It's a man-made disaster, if you like, to put it. People who were not even otherwise to be affected were affected. If you look at the monitoring and the warning system of VRA as we have it, is very poor. Their emergency preparedness is very weak, and their risk assessment in all of these exercises we cannot speak for. So it is a genuine fear for people to entertain when they think that, look, we are not safe even with this condition. We expect the worst situation to come. And I think that it is a good time for every stakeholder and agencies, especially the central government, to take critical look at those areas and begin to put in, future plans. I heard in the news this morning, for example, that the people of Northtown, together with First Sky Group Housing Project, had initiated or cut sword for the establishment or construction of a capacity, housing facility with a capacity of 12,000. I think that is a good start. So it is a good start to each and every other community that has been affected by this situation. Otherwise, what is ahead of us, I do not think that it is something that the country can contain.
Thank you, Samson. Please hold it there for me, and I'll come to Mr. George Isi shortly. But I want to first hear from Nana Kofi Akwa. You just like me watching this from afar, and the situation is that bad because I've been to Anglo Agobledokwe. Even before this became such a topical thing in the media, I'd been there and I'd seen the level of devastation. Returning to Accra, I really knew that the situation was that bad. And then now they've spilled more water and a lot more communities are submerged. I've seen pictures of houses just submerged to the roof level. And it's that bad. I mean, if you look at how we've been able to manage this situation, Mr. Akwa, do you sense government has a lid on it and we've been able to deal with it forthrightly? Hello, Mr. Akwa. Nana Kofi Akwa, well, it appears I don't have Nana Kofi Akwa. I'll try and get Nana Kofi Akwa again shortly to see if... Okay, Nana Kofi just left the Zoom. But, okay, good time then to bring in George Isi of NADMO. He's the National Communications Director. Mr. George Isi, you've heard there from some of the victims who've spoken about the sharing of relief items and how it has not reached them. It's been 2 weeks now. What can you report from the stables of NADMO in terms of the distribution?
Yeah, thank you. The distribution is ongoing. As I said earlier, I'm not here. As I said, all the evacuation centers that have been identified, about 20 of them, and counting, we send relief support there. I tend to agree with the one who said the focus seemed to be in the Mefe area. It's true, because of the devastating effect of the flooding on the Mefe Pato community. So that accounts for the reason why we have more of the evacuation centers or the safe havens centered around there. But the other places are also being attended to. If they have problems that the focus is not as is happening in the Mefe area, we'll take note of that and we'll take the steps to rectify that so that all of them get the needed attention and the needed support as much as possible. So that is it. So far, we're sending the relief, water, food items, and non-food items that are going. I had somebody saying there's somewhere that people are sleeping on the bare floor. That's unfortunate because we gave out mattresses and co. We had yesterday we had engagement with some members of some of the evacuation centers who also raised the issue that they were in the comfort of their homes. They were sleeping on their beds elsewhere and their kids were elsewhere, but now they are sleeping with their kids at the same time. So we have to explain to them that it's not the same situation as they were in the house. There's a problem, and they've been moved to a place for their safety. Hence, we need to manage the situation. So we are doing our bit to ensure that we can bring as much not comfort. This cannot be a comfortable situation, but we make life bearable for them as much as possible.
Mr. Sokpa, you've talked about how some of the relief items haven't gotten to you. I want you to speak directly to NADMO, the National Communications Director, who's on the line now. Your concerns, let him take it on board. You've talked about how some people are sleeping on the bare floor. I want you to talk directly to Mr. George AC.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Sokpa, I can hear you. Mr. Isi is also listening to you as well. Your concerns. Hello, Mr. Sokpa.
And I don't know how the items have been distributed. So I'll say to talk about the relief items. What I'm saying is, personally, I know my share will come to me at the appropriate time, but I cannot talk for others, and then I don't want to hold brief for the assemblymen, whoever is concerned about the receiving of the items and the distribution. Sorry for that.
Mr. Isi, you've heard that, Mr. Sokpa. Do you have some answers for him?
Yes, we are working with them. The assemblymen, they are leaders in communities. So we are working with them. The district assembly is key partner in the identification of the victims. Apart from the evacuation centers, as I said earlier, some people are putting up with relatives at homes and friends. And so, but they are victims. They've lost their homes where they are. They've lost their farm produce and others. And so we identify them and we take through the assemblymen and opinion leaders to reach these people with the relief support. So we are doing that. But mostly, as for those are the evacuation centers, we see them, we are dealing with them. They are at a point, so we deal with them directly. But these other people are the ones, they are victims, but they are not living in the evacuation center. So we try to reach them through the assemblymen, as he's saying. We will reach all of them, but it will be on the advice of the assemblymen and the opinion leaders who know the people in the communities.
So this distribution challenge is not from the side of NADMO, but on the side of the third parties who have to deliver these items to the persons who are affected, the victims.
No, they don't deliver. They identify them, and then we do the delivery.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Sokpa, that is the answer to the question that you have. I'll come back to you, Mr. Sokpa, and then Mr. Isi. Really, really grateful that you make time to join us. I know that NADMO is doing a lot of work in the Volta region now. This is a crisis situation. For the last 2 weeks, so many communities submerged and authorities doing their best to offer them some support. But the questions have come in. Has government been able to deal with this? Nana Kofi-Akwa has joined us again. And Nana Kofi-Akwa, I was asking you earlier on about government's response. You've heard there the questions of Mr. Sokpa, the questions of Samson Tagbo. These are victims who are directly asking government for support because some of the support haven't reached them. Is your sense that government is really on top of this situation, or there is still more room for a lot of improvement on the side of government?
Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Okay, so thank you, and sorry about my poor connection. What I want to say is that, so a couple of weeks ago, I was in Galaka in the Upper East region, and I was there because of this situation. So we already knew that this will be happening. This is going to be a perennial problem. This is not going to be a flash in the pan, So I think that as much as the government is trying to address it as an emergency, we need some very solid long-term solutions in the plan, because we knew it was coming. It has come. The probability that it will happen again next year is very, very high. Global warming is real. And then we have the added problem of the damming of the water in Burkina Faso and how it flows down. So this problem is actually not just in the Volta region. Even though a lot more people appear to have been displaced in the Volta region, the truth is that communities all the way from the Upper East, wherever the Volta rivers flow, you will find communities that have been heavily impacted. So I hope that, the president's words when he met the people of the Volta was not very inspiring.
I would want to come to that.
The leadership of this country can look beyond tribal lines and political lines and understand that once you are voted into power, you represent all the people.
Yeah.
And so the earlier we find a permanent solution to these problems, the better.
Yes, I'm going to come to that in more detail pretty shortly, so that we can all discuss the governmental response, in particular also the rhetoric of senior government officials, the president inclusive. Let me bring you back, Samson. Yeah. And Samson, you've heard there from Mr. Isio from NADMO, who says that this support are going to get to you. Is that the same sense you get from your assemblyman? And are you in touch with these persons to send your concerns to NADMO so that NADMO can reach you? Is there any organized way that NADMO can reach you?
Right. Kwaku, I indeed listened to the NADMO rep who just spoke. I cannot hold brief for him. Maybe he is doing his own part of the work at his level, but same cannot be the case here in Keta. I made a very profound remarks from my earlier statement that, look, it as though nothing is happening in other parts of the region so far as this flood issue is concerned. I agree, like I said earlier, that attention is given to Mepe, Bato, and its enclaves. That is so because of the gravity of the situations there. However, places like Keta, Blekusu, Anyani, all of those areas that are hugely affected are not even being looked at. So the issue of even NADMO coming in is not even on the table. There have been few benevolent individuals and corporate institutions who are putting their heads together to make things happen. But that is how their strength can carry them. And government at this time must ensure that state institutions such as NADMO are equitably equipped. They themselves, as an institution, should be equipped with the needed resources in order to move in as fast as possible to help the victims and raise them from their hopelessness as they are right now. Mind you, we are talking about people who have lost all their livelihood, their sense of establishment and existential. All of their things that they had done up to now had always been around those areas. And they woke up one morning to be displaced. And so beyond NADMO, we should be looking at more of the efforts that can sustain these people and pick them up from the shackles of all of these situations. So NADMO in Keta, nothing is being said about them. Nothing is being heard about them. No donation is made so far. And people of Keta are in absolute despair, just as many across the country. And I love it when the gentleman that spoke before me intimated that, look, if you go to elsewhere like the Western region and other regions where you have the river crisscrossing or somehow passing through, you will realize that there's a pocket of flood that is inconveniencing somebody who is a resident of the area or has made it impossible for a national or public assets to be utilized, i.e. hospitals, schools, and what have you. And so the situation we have now, NADMO must be as fast as possible, if this is the fastest they can ever be, in the management of their affairs in terms of crisis response and situation preparedness for emergency setups we have in right now. So nothing is happening in Keta so far as NADMO is concerned.
Keta, okay. We'll try and get some answers from Mr. Isi shortly. But thankfully, we've also been joined by Engineer Edward Kenzo. He is there. He's a Deputy CEO at the Volta River Authority. We have a number of questions for him. He's a very busy man. He would have to take leave of us at some point. And so we'll get him to answer some of the questions. First, Mr. Kenzo, where are we with the spillage right now, and is there any end in sight from the data you have?
Thank you, Kojo. The data, I think we have an end in sight.
Hello, Mr. Kenzo, if you can raise your voice a little.
Can you hear me, Kojo?
Kwaku, yes, I can hear you.
Kwaku, can you hear me?
Yes.
Kwaku? Yeah, what I'm saying is this. For the data, at least we have an end in sight. We are monitoring the data, and we think that we are close to getting to the end of the season that we find ourselves in.
So you cannot clearly say that this is how long your spillage is going to continue, or this is the exact date we are going to end?
Kojo, over the almost throughout my conversation with the media, I've said that from the middle of October to the end of October, the inflows into the lake reduces. For the past 48 hours, the rise of the dam is zero, which means the amount of water coming in and the amount of water leaving the dam is the same. We are hoping that we'll get to the negative rise of the dam, which means the amount of water coming in is less than the amount of we are taking out. From there, we'll start closing these gates whilst we monitor the date, the forecast that is being sent to us in terms of rain. But we think that getting to the end of this, we'll be getting closer to reducing the spillage drastically.
One of the questions that have come in, Mr. Kenzo, is how far-reaching was your simulation exercise? Because I know here at Joy News, we covered that simulation exercise you did to try and drum home the preparedness of VRA to spill this. But how far-reaching was it? How much involved were the community members so that they could have been aware that this was coming? Because a lot of them seem to have been taken by complete surprise.
Kojo, I think your station covered the simulation.
Yes, we did.
If the communities were fully involved, the communities were actors in the simulation. VRA, the other agencies acted as the committee were acting as somebody who house is flooded. He has to move to the roof of the building. Where it is flooded, so he has to climb a tree. Some acted as if they collapsed, and some are drowned. People calling us, "Oh, we've seen somebody drown here. We'll call Navy to come and rescue the person." People on tree, fire service will go and rescue them. Those on top of their buildings, what do you call it? Fire service will rescue them. Even at a point of stage of knowing that people are leaving their houses, so people take advantage. Somebody even acted as a thief who has entered to somebody's house, stealing where police have to go and arrest the person. So you could say that the communities were the really actors of the simulation that we carried out. And all the agencies also played their role very well. You know, the district assembly is the administrator for all the districts. The information has to go to the district assembly. The district assembly will go down to the communities and inform them and educate them accordingly. Our community relations unit were also in the communities, educating the community even after the simulation. So it was a complete successful project that we carried out. We can say that because of the simulation, the understanding of the community and how they took serious the simulation, that's up to date. We've not recovered any fatal incidents or that somebody losing his life. People move to their friends, to their family, and some also move to the safe haven.
Engineer, one last question from me before the gentleman around the table can ask you a question, and then I know you're a busy man. You have to take leave of us. The minority today, when they donated some material, said they are going to cause an investigation in Parliament against you. They believe that you've been derelict and that you should have known the water level after some time so that all this would have been prevented, and that if you knew exactly how much water was going to come in, then you could have spilled little by little and not spill on this scale. This is the minority. How do you respond?
For the past 60 years, I would say maybe the first 5 years, there were white people who were involved in operating the dam. For the past 55 years, the dam has been operated by Ghanaians, which are VRA staff, people who have worked there 30 years plus. And over the period, everybody said this is one of the best dams which have been operated and managed. Every 5 years, we have consultants, which we call them the dam review board, commissioned by the dam board across the world, who will come and assess our dam, assess how we operate the dam, and always we don't get anything less than 95% pass. All the issues that normally will come has to do with the structure of the dam, what we should do to strengthen the dam and make sure the dam is safe. Operation-wise, at least we've shown that we can run this dam. If you remember very well, some time back, they will say that the dam, there's a drought, there's not enough water in the dam, we can't run enough hydro, we'll get water a bit, we'll go back to a drought. But for the past 7 years, we've had a lot of rain. And because of this, you can see that we don't have enough of headroom to contain any severe rain which we are experiencing this year. And we can also say that we didn't just open the gates just like that. It took us 3 days debating which amount of water we should take out of the dam to ensure that if there are huge volumes of water come into the dam, we can contain this water. 3 days. We look at the Google map, the development down the river to the sea, and we can say, look, if per all calculation, the amount of water that we should take out of this dam, if you allow it to go, the devastation to cause downstream, we cannot bear it. These are our people. So we started with 20,000 cubic feet per second. And gradually we increased all the way up to 70. And as at that level of spillage, there was no complaint of flooding in the community. And we're monitoring the water inflows which were coming. Following our charts, I would say that the water which were coming are becoming more intensive. If you just sit down and we don't do anything, we are going to breach this dam. If you breach this dam, Kwaku, we will not be sitting here discussing anything. People will be washed off. The distraction will be great.
I mean, the MP for North Tongue has been asking for compensation. Is VRA going to pay compensation to victims?
Honestly speaking, as we sit right now, our paramount goal is to make sure those affected get a bit of relief, get comfort, and I try best to let them return back to their livelihood. We can't keep them where they are. People leave their homes, come and be as if they are dependent on people. Their dignity, their psychology. How is it like? These are the things that is bothering us as VRA and as NADMO and all the agencies involved.
No, not compensation talks as of now.
When we get there, we'll cross it. For now, our paramount goal is make sure no life is lost. No one is left behind. We make sure everybody is catered for, can have his life back, and go back to do whatever he or she was doing before this incident occurred. We can't let anybody lose his life because of this.
Engineer Kenzo, thank you very much. But before you go, I don't know if anybody around the table just have any questions for Mr. Kenzo, so that we can just take that briefly, and then Mr. Kenzo can take it fast. A very busy man, and he has to go continue distributing relief items, continue making sure that the spillage is not at levels that will cause much more devastation. Any questions around the table? Something, Nana Kofiakwa, Mr. Sokwa. All right. Okay. Engineer Kenzo, thank you very much for the information you provided. Thank you very much for all that you keep doing. Please continue serving these members of the community. Let us get to know of any help that we can offer here at Joy News, and then we'll be really grateful to offer that. That was Engineer Kenzo. He is the Deputy CEO at the Volta River Authority, and they've been doing quite a good work in terms of being able to distribute relief items. Of course, there are still members of the community, some way, somehow, who believe that they do not have the necessary support that they should be getting. And the promise from NADMO and VRA is that we are going to reach you one way or the other. Let's do some social media comments, and then we can come around the table and then take some final closing thoughts on some of the comments that have been made by persons like the president and the responses that have come in. All right, my colleague James Aveji joins me in studio with the results of the polls we put on Twitter. The question was, are you impressed with government's handling of the floods caused by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam? And the results have been trickling in thick and fast. James, what are the results?
Yes, Kwaku. So it's very interesting. 16% of our respondents are saying yes, while an 84% of them are saying no. They are not intrigued by the way government is handling this. Exactly. That's, I mean, very interesting. Out of the total number, 84 saying they are not intrigued. I'm sure that's the position of a lot of people who find themselves in this situation.
What are some of the comments under that tweet, the sentiments people are sharing about the situation in the region?
Okay, Kwaku. So, for instance, if you one at DAC123 says, can't believe that he cracked such joke addressing the victims of the spillage. Ghana is just turned into a lab where Nana just plays with. Okay, and if you look at Akins, he says, I think they have benefited more than any other victimized group in Ghana, talking about the victims. If you look at Sang Noma, he says that no, because they don't vote for Akufo-Addo, but he visited them because Ghanaians were making noise. And so those are some comments under the tweet post there.
Incredible number of people voting on there. Are you impressed with government's handling of the floods caused by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam? 16% saying yes, they are impressed and they think government is handling the situation much better. 84% say they do not believe that government is doing a good work with that. James, thank you very much for bringing us some comments from Twitter. On our WhatsApp console, this one from Otio in Abeka says, seriously, the performance of VRA in all this has been very disappointing. They just had no plan apart from telling the people to move to higher grounds. That is Otio in Abeka. This one says, good evening. The comment from the president was not good in the 2020 election. The APP government got more than 14% from the Volta region. However, the people of the Volta region also pay taxes which are used by the government. That is Kwashi Yevuga listening to us all the way from Bolgatanga. This one says, good evening, Joy FM. This is not the first time the VRA is spilling. They got it wrong because they were sleeping on the job. Hope this is not due to the quality of the appointments made there. This one says, this is a terrible incident we've encountered since I was born in the Volta region. And we are pleading with the VRA to stop spilling the water because it is getting out of hand. Rubin Ahoga from the Volta region, you did not tell us specifically why. But VRA says they really can't, because if they do that, we might have a really bad situation on our hands. And there are a few more comments there. But let me come around the table and let's strike some agreements, a few agreements before we leave. Nana, you were making some comments about what exactly the president said before we went on to speak to the VRA authorities there. You've clearly stated that you were not impressed by the president making that comments. But some will say that the president made that in jest and really represent facts anyway.
I don't think, when you are voted president of Ghana, you are president of Ghana. So your level is above partisan politics. And that comment was very, very partisan and quite unfortunate, especially considering the plight the people are in. He left his comfortable home, drove there in a comfortable car, And then he went to tell people who are displaced and some don't know where they are sleeping, that he's not too happy with them because they didn't vote for him. I mean, really, it's so petty. I mean, unfortunately, it's also such a petty thing of him. And that's how I feel anyway. I just think that, it's not a time for jokes. Even if he was joking, when people are displaced by flood, it is actually quite insensitive, which for me is even worse if that was his intent. Well, if his intent was to crack them up, but it didn't sound like a joke to me.
Something is that the same sense you get? Do you sense that the president was playing politics there, or this was the president who had returned from a trip and really being thoughtful about the situation there, traveled all the way, announced some support for victims, and then really spoke to matters of facts about how the voter regime does not vote for him, but he's there anyway to sympathize and help them? Hello, Samson. It appears I've lost something there. Mr. Sokpa, if you are still on the line with me, I want to know how the people in the voter region received this comment from the president and how you personally felt as a victim listening to the president make those comments.
Oh, yeah, I'm listening. Thank you very much. The president is a human being. If you have never been beaten by rain, and people are talking about rain being beaten, you will hardly comment about it. We have been affected. We know what is going on. We know how devastating we are. So he's a human being. He has expressed his concern. Let's just allow him to continue. With the voter region, well, he has spoken his mind. I can't speak for the people. For now, I can't speak for the people.
Mr. Sokpa,
to me, the president has spoken his mind. And we know who he is. That is all. Thank you.
That's all. Something.
Yeah. Well, Kwaku, to be very honest, I think that the president got it wrong this time around, and they should be humble enough to give people of Ghana some level of respect and say that, well, that was a low one, but we can let it slide. Because you see, Kwaku, even in the Bible, Jesus says that what? Rejoice with those who are rejoicing and mourn with those who are mourning. There are times and places for certain things. You do not go to people that are suffering the ravages of this man-made disaster just to make a political comment. A comment, we all condemn the Ashanti regional chairman for making, proud to even the president's visitation to the area. And so if foot soldiers are at will to go this low, can't we dignify the seat of the presidency that much to elevate the conversation? Nobody is saying that you cannot pass a political comment. If it were an issue of votes, I do not think that there is any wisdom in Dr. Bawumia sending $1 million to Sierra Leone when they suffered flood issues in recent time. Because Sierra Leone doesn't vote for us in Ghana, but it is not a matter of vote. So you need to be sensitive to the situation and be circumspect in the comments you put before the people. You cannot make any other comments apart from that. Now, to the substantive issue, I think that I would have loved to ask the engineer a couple of questions if he's still here, but I realized that he's off the.
He's gone.
Call.
I think you probably had dropped at the time I was asking if you had any questions. So, but he's gone. He's gone now.
But I'll still air this particular one just so those who care to know will listen. Look, Kwaku, the situation at hand is as critical as any other thing in this country as we speak up right now. Look, one of the speakers defined it as a perennial problem. And in your own reporter's comments from the commencement of this program, he says that, look, there are people who are classified as forgotten flood victims. We are going to have such a situation, and it is not going to be a good thing for any one of us. So we must marshal out all the necessary state funds and architecture that can make it easy and more simple for us to attain some level of cushion in order to alleviate the already suffering plight of the citizens that are hugely affected. So it is not a matter of votes.
It is not a matter of votes for Samson Tagbo, and Samson Tagbo has been making some good points. I want to give the last word to Mr. Isi Georgia Isi, the National Communications Director of NADMO. And what is the promise and the assurance to victims going forward? I know you are still on the ground doing a lot of work. What are they to expect in the coming days?
Yeah, we'll continue. As Engineer Kenzo said, it's like we are looking at in no long time the end of this. It's heartwarming to hear that from Engineer Kenzo. And so, yes, until then, we'll continue to give our support to the people. The places that are complaining that they've not been attended to the way they ought to be, we'll revise our notes and then direct our focus to that place. That is not to say we are going to leave where we are already at, but we will pay more attention, extend their support to where we've not reached yet, so that they will also get the needed support as Ghanaians. They are all Ghanaians, so we'll continue to do our bit. So that is what I'm going to say to the people. Those are the evacuation centers. Yes, we'll continue to be with you. Those who are yet to join, and those who have been integrated with their families and co, get in touch with your assemblymen, unit committee members. If there's any other support that we need to extend, we will do that. So all of you will be the better off, not to be worse off because we are in a worse situation. We will do our best to support you to be better.
Thank you very much, Mr. George Isi, the National Communications Director of the National Disaster Management Organization. Very busy on the grounds, but took some 1 hour to join us, answer your questions, and also offer the necessary assurances to the affected persons. Thank you very much, George Isi. You also heard there earlier from Engineer Edward Kenzo. He is the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of VR in charge of engineering and operations. Earlier, you also heard from Carlos Kaloni, our colleague who is on the ground reporting in the Volta region. Sefas Yao Sokpe is also a victim of the devastating flood. You heard from him. Samson Tagbo also affected in Keta. You heard his story. And then Nana Kofi Akwa, as always, a delight to listen to him share his perspective on such national issues. My name is Kwaku Asante. Thanks all of you who voted on our Twitter poll. For those of you who also shared your messages. We'll see you again